to the social hub of positivity, the S.H.O.P, the social hub of positivity with me today. I've got quite a unique coupling. I've got a very unique coupling. I've got my brother and his wonderful daughter, one of his wonderful daughters. He's very lucky, he gets to choose from a few. So, here's the crack. Not only is he my brother, and obviously by that blessed. He's also a tin whistle lubricator, but he is a senior master in the fine art of Taekwondo, which obviously they're going to talk about to any lengths that you want to. So a lot of people in this town will know, in this town, this is going to go out more than Chippenham, but in our community, Don's known for all sorts of good things. But Sinead, you've got some stuff that you're going to talk to us about a little business you set up, which I think is excellent. Just to encourage people to, on the one hand, we're talking about self-defense, of course, but we're also talking about personal health, mental health, and physical health. So, over to you guys. What should we say? What should we say? Oh, so many questions, so many traumas. Don, how did it all begin?
Well, I was picked on by my younger brother for many, many moons. That's not true at all. Now, I think from our side of things, we come from a very large family. And I said it in an interview, actually, where is it? One of those ones up there. We did an interview where we talked about almost like being a wolf pack. One of my older sisters was highly indignant by that. But I just meant in the fact that we kind of stuck together as a pack, so to speak.
And we used to hunt bison.
Whilst they were still around. Yeah.
And, one of us would sort of hook the front and the other trip it up, and then we'd go in and then we'd eat it.
Yeah.
The sister that was indignant always got the tail end of the bison. Can we just keep this serious, please? Because she might be watching this and she's traumatised. Every time she hears the word "bye, son," she'd be traumatised when she said goodbye to her children. Anyway, when did you start doing Taekwondo? Because you're a senior master. I want people to get their heads around this. What does that actually entail? What does that actually mean?
Basically, actually I started in judo, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
These guys and girls don't know that. I started in judo in about 1979. Way before I knew guys.
Back in 79 in a sweaty.
Was that
Jim?
Was it then? Was it? Oh.
No.
So the fact of the matter is, I started out
that was
then
later.
in 79. I was going to say.
Dexies.
And I did judo first, and then from there, my instructor, God bless him, and his name is Ian Grant, if you're listening. He left the area, and unfortunately, the club was not able to carry on from there. And luckily for me, my new instructor was a guy called Andy Davis, who's now a Grand Master, came into the area and we started training with him back in, actually on the 13th of July 1981. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we're coming up for 40 years now on that one.
Amazing.
So to get to where I am, you have to stay around a few years. You have to sweat a couple of times. There might be a little bit of blood involved, but not too much. And seriously, no pain whatsoever for me.
Can I just interlude? I don't know if that's a word. If you notice that Don has got Bruce Lee on the... But Bruce Lee was quite an influence on everything. Because back in the day, we were very fortunate. Our mother, bless her, had bought a video machine before you could actually rent them. And you had to buy the films for £30. And she bought one of the films that I'd never seen as a young person, was Enter the Dragon. Now, how these stories converge is that whilst Don was back in R.A. Benson, wasn't it? Working at R.A. Benson.
Yeah.
And he'd met Andy Davis, one of the fantastic twins who ended up being our instructors later on, Cadbury Heath's Club. Anyway, I didn't know he'd started this. It was days before communication, days before even smoke signals. And I watched Enter the Dragon, I think 29 times. I knew all the words at least, and I thought I knew all the moves. So when Don visited our house when we lived at what was then RAF Lavington, I think I might have been about 17. I was something like that, 17, and thought I could take on my older brother. And I thought, no, I've got to a sufficient height. Well, I'd been at a sufficient height since I was 3, to be perfectly honest. However, so I goaded him.
Help you?
I didn't help at all. I goaded him. I said, you see, Paul, Hayden told me about Taekwondo, by the way. and I said, look, later on we're going to have a little fight out in the garden, and kept doing this all day long. I can still feel the pain and regret now. And at a certain point during the day, Don started doing various moves and naming them, lower block, middle block, high block, midsection punch, low set. And the more he did that, I seem to remember not only my confidence draining away, but some of my blood, most of my sweat, and some of my inner organs turned to jelly. And I realised that something was going on. So we went in the garden. Well, I'll tell you how. If you've ever seen Enter the Dragon, and he fights his arch nemesis, the O'Hara, isn't it? That killed his, killed his daughter, his sister earlier on in the film, and there he was, and I was like, yeah, my arch nemesis from childhood. Oh, yeah, like that. And then, but this little thing of lower block, midsection block thing had got into my head. Well, the fight lasted something of about 13 seconds, and ended with his big toe somewhere you don't want a big toe to be. I think I almost cried and screamed, and we both kind of in a. I was no more Bruce Lee. I was more, crying baby. Yes, I was. You went on from that. I think that's what spurred you on. I think initially you were probably think, oh, it's not quite judo, lower section, but wait a minute, I get a chance to put my big toe in places that nobody would go. Anyway.
So what was
how long? How's 40 odd years?
What was the moral of that story?
The moral of the story is never take on him, never take on anyone in their pyjamas, but never threaten someone with a particularly large toe.
Unless they've got a turn.
It's good. It's pearl. Anything can happen. You could be in danger.
So from my side of things, you can imagine my delight. Obviously, myself and Ed used to have play fights, as we did in the family anyway. We'd have play fights, which kind of definitely toughened us up to the world, would you say?
Yes.
So that kind of helped.
Lovely.
So we'd often have little scraps and fights. They were never vicious. They were never so vicious that he had to go to hospital, let's put it that way.
He took crying and screaming as a sort of just a natural expression of how I enjoyed myself.
It was great. So the thing about it is that the idea behind it is, you can imagine my head going, wow, this boy is so going to get a kicking today because he's been very, very cocky. Yeah. And that's the thing, never be cocky, doesn't work too.
It's like a finger pointing away to your own bottom. Ow! Yeah. Don't look at the bottom or the finger.
You miss all the heavenly glory.
You miss something.
Up the objects.
You miss it. But you went on from that to start clubs. What was your first club in Chippenham?
It was actually what's called the Liberal Club.
The Rotary Hall, which can do arts now.
Exactly.
Do not.
What's the chances?
All these years later, you've got your wonderful daughter doing a whole self-defense kickboxing with our attendees at Can Do Arts. We'll come on to that in a minute. But that's quite interesting, isn't it? That after all these years, the old Liberal Club, the now Rotary Hall on Station Hill.
Do you remember the idea behind it in those days? What would occur simply is this: is that we literally blitzed everywhere in Chippenham, fly posting everywhere about the new club opening, which is hysterical. So when Woolworths had an arch, we used to stick it in there and all that places. Remember that? So we did all of that, and then on the first day, we turned up, and the Liberal Hall is, or what's it called?
The Rotary
Club now. Well, it was a reasonable size, but it was stacked. It was stacked. And I was dismayed, to say the least. I thought, what is going on there? That's crazy. There's far too many people in here. So we decided that the ethos would be hard training. I'm talking seriously hard training, so we could get rid of people that weren't, let's say, worthy. So the first week we had
I think committed.
Committed.
People that weren't committed.
Or committed
worthy.
to an asylum.
Times have changed quite a lot, haven't they? You just never even consider that as a way forward.
No, it didn't work. Well, I say it didn't work. It worked in those days because we had at least 40 odd people in there the first week. Second week there was about 6, if I'm not mistaken. So I was chuffed to pieces because I understood that to be the way to go, which was kind of okay for a few years. And we got some great people. We had seriously top contenders, really good. We beat most people that came along, frankly, but it had to change. So over the years, we actually got a little bit more educated on what we're doing, and then actually become successful in what we're doing, thank God, which kind of helped us to do a lot of this malarkey.
Am I right in thinking, was the next club that you had in Gold Diggers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a
Which
good
have a
point.
wonderful Mark S.B. Rest his soul.
And Kevin Angel.
Kevin Angel being part of it. That was great, actually. The floor in there, because it was sprung, the dance floor.
Brilliant. The only issue with the Gold Diggers, and by the way, I started working there some short time later. But the only issue with that is just obviously people get into altercations and what have you, and drop glass on the floor. So we spent.
It didn't have to have an altercation.
It wasn't necessary. Yeah.
Sometimes it was merely an accident. Sometimes it was. So, how are you? Oh, I've dropped the glass. This isn't an altercation. However, if you're doing taekwondo with bare feet, it's potentially quite lethal. That went on for a while, and bless Mark and the guys. Yeah, we did. So, where did you go from there? Because you had clubs all over.
The thing about it, I mean, let's not skip over Gold Diggers because that was quite a big.
I tried to skip over.
Don't skip over. It's
once I tripped and I chipped my tooth.
I'll teach you. The thing about Gold Diggers was it was absolutely phenomenal because of the fact that we used to get visiting artists. As some of you don't know, but Gold Diggers was really, really big on getting, people doing the beginning tours for.
Oh, the warm-up dates.
Yeah, warm-ups.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And just rehearsal.
That was Stranglers. That was the whole thing. So we had people like JJ Burnell who would actually be inside the main arena doing their thing. We were out in the foyer training, and they happened to have a few of them would like martial arts. And JJ Burnell in particular came out and just watched our gig. I remember some of the guys from Madness, when I say our gig, us training, because we would carry on training while they were doing their training, their rehearsals inside. So we always trained, which is really cool, and we had quite a few stars come out and watch us. Ben Vulavonva from Curiosity Killed a Cat.
Ben Vulavonva.
I can't remember his name, to be fair. He was one of the people that came out and watched us.
Vavavoon.
He speaks great.
Yeah, actually, he was great French. He was great crack because we did the security, didn't we? And
we did.
Remember?
My dog was on stage.
Yeah, backstage with those guys. Curiosity Killed a Cat, which when you think that your dog was there, it's quite a dangerous combination. But they were great fun. There was obviously loads of bands.
What's it called? Madness, they were great. Some of the guys in there, one of the lads in there was martial artists. And quite a few really that would just listen. They'd come out and watch us train and think, well, get on with your job. Because I used to get quite but I think, well, you've got the main arena, get on with it so we can get on with our training. And we never stopped, regardless of what was going on.
I remember they were doing Golden Brown. You said, hey guys, keep it down. Try to kick someone. Try to give them a thong with my big toe. In my pajamas. You Golden Brown? I'll give you Golden Brown in a minute, mate. Yeah? Hey? Yeah, that's right, John Jack.
And then what happened? That went on for a good while. And then Edward got the place closed down. They made it into an old age pensioners place.
That's right. It's now. Well, once they'd seen the injury to my rectum, they decided to reckon. They brought a wrecking ball to Gold Diggers. How long have you? I'm sitting here talking about Gold Diggers. I mean, come on, let's not do that. Sinead, apart from doing lots of wonderful things with Can Do and doing the self-defence, we've just had our first student go through the kickboxing, which is brilliant. I've got to say this before we go into it. That's entertainment. Carry on. I had to say that. It's a code. It's a code. Right. Not to you. Right. How did your career and what you do as well? You've got besides kickboxing, keep fit. What else have you got going on?
Where to begin? I started off training obviously with Dad.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it since I was 8. So it's over 20 years now.
What grade are you at the moment?
Currently, just got my 6th Dan.
Fantastic. Is that not a... What was it, 7th Dan as a master?
1 off, yeah.
What is a senior Dan then? Senior master?
I'm senior master's
8th Dan.
8th Dan, but how many years would you generally have to do to that?
Well, getting between 35 and 40.
Wow. So 10,000 hours, don't know, 10 years to be so...
10,000 hours to be an expert,
Yeah. How many hours have you done? Way more.
3, 4.
Yes. That's just this morning.
At least 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was a teenager, I used to train every single day.
Yeah.
I used to go to Taunton, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
I used to go to Taunton, Vises, Swindon, Trowbridge, literally 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I used to train. And then when I got older and up the grades, I started opening up my own fitness classes. So I train just one-to-one now. Very lucky I get like private tuition.
Yeah.
But as my business started building, I started like training just with Dad.
So tell us about your business. What's it called?
So it's Sound Health and Fitness. So I do fitness classes, which are like, it's mostly adults that I have do it, and obviously online at the minute. And I also go into schools that have kids with like autism and things like that, and I run like martial arts sessions for those. Like they do these like sports day things, just to get different sports in. And I do personal training. One of my clients, he's got autism as well, and I've trained him for
some years.
Don't even know. He's 20 now. He started training when he was 13. So I don't know, maybe 6 years I think I've been training one-to-one.
How has the lockdown, how has that affected your practices, both your businesses? Has it been affected? Or are you doing online?
It's all online. We changed pretty quick. We kind of knew it was going to happen. We had it in our head, like, right, okay, let's do this. We went straight online. So all of our sessions have been run through Zoom, and then obviously... Anyone
interested now, could a beginner start with you online?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, your fitness stuff, they could get in contact. So obviously we'll put all the details on this. We'll put it out there. And it's on here as well. The wonderful Joe Hughes.
Yeah.
How did Joe? And I used to be a student of yours. Both of them used to be.
Mm-hmm. Joe and Daniela.
Yeah.
So
Big Joe.
Joe Hughes, Big Joe, who's you're calling for now.
I say Big Joe as in shout out to Big Joe Hughes.
Well, the thing about it, he started working for us. His father worked for us on the door at Gold Diggers.
Remember it well.
With the very fabulous Jack Frost, etc.
Remember them well.
All of these great guys.
Oh yes.
So Big Ken, do you remember Big Ken? That's just the name of a couple of the guys, but they were a phenomenal team, moulded by they were just great guys. We got them together. And
so he was boxing big time then.
Joe was specifically. He was a good boxer in his day apparently.
Joe the Blow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't realise he cut hair. But the thing about it is this: you've got little Joe, we call him that, and Danielle, his daughter. They both started training with us, and they were absolutely brilliant. You can see there. I mean, they got little snippets of how good they were, but they were certainly high level in Britain. That's no question about it. And they could have gone on to further things.
Yeah, just in Taekwondo.
I mean, the thing is, Joe had a disability in his I can't remember his left or right arm, to be honest. One of his arms, where he's able to extend. I think it's his right arm. Was not able to extend it properly, so he could use his legs and hands, and he did really well. Now he was
European champion.
That's what I say. So
what a phenomenal thing.
They got to second down with us at their level, and then he went on to become European champion in boxing as well. And it's about mindset. And this is something that we teach within martial arts, you teach within what you do, and that lady teaches. It's about how you set your mind. As an example, just give you a list. It's kind of a boast, but it's not a boast. It's just this
involves big toe. I'm at
praising people. As an example, a few years ago, we had guys and girls that were training with us, and they gave out. There is a connection. They gave out the results of the A-levels, not A-levels.
It was A-levels.
A-levels, was it? In Harden Hewish and Sheldon. I think of the top 10, am I right in saying 5 or 6 were with us?
Yeah.
5 or 6 had the highest marks in the area, as getting A stars and A's and that. Now, that is a mindset. There's no question about it. If you can get something in your head and you think about it in the right way, and are guided in the right way, and I don't say this is me doing it, but him and that lady and my other daughter over there and my other daughter, they all have different ways of helping people, and that's what it's about. And it's not us being pious, it's just we enjoy doing it because it's part of our life, isn't it?
What's that enlightened, vested self-interest? If everyone feels confident and happy and has opportunity, then everyone feels equal, and there's less negativity, less potential for mental health illness, and for all sorts of crimes and violence. And I personally have worked inside prisons. Hence, I'm always advocating community initiatives like you could sell. Anything that is going to allow someone to develop not just an interest, a hobby, to be social, but to look at their physical and mental well-being. No time in our history, have we needed community centres like the Bridge Centre, by the way, and other areas, buildings, not just gyms, because we need all those places where people can. Because you've got your own place now. Where's your actual premises?
It's Forest Gate, so it's kind
right. So it's on the way out.
Derry Hill, yeah.
Towards Derry Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you keep it there long enough, if the council don't change their ridiculous plans, that will be part of the housing estate, which is obviously unneeded. But people can go there. They obviously can't now because, like a normal place, no one can go and do lessons, but they can access this online.
Yeah.
Right. What about gradings? If you want to do a grading in this?
We're doing all of those online as well.
You do them
We're literally-
online?
Yeah, we had.
So
black
are all your
box
patterns and everything else online?
We've made everything so that people can still get everything they need to get
Perfect.
online. Because it's nobody's fault, so we weren't going to say, okay, well, no one's going to grade because.
Yeah. Well, they're training, as you say, there's a really good high standard. You've got
Everyone's
lots of
adapted
students.
really well. All of our students
Yeah.
have been amazing, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've just been like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
They've all been so.
And actually, do you think by having that continuity, it's helped a lot of people and parents as well? Because some of them are actually participants, aren't they?
Yeah.
Parents. But that they
say it.
have
They say it
some-
regularly.
Yeah.
You know, they just say, and again, it's not blowing smoke at our own backsides. We care not a jot about this. What we're trying to
We've
do
had
is
enough of backsides. haven't we?
Exactly.
People
There's enough.
absolutely have. I can't sit down straight. How's your back,
I
Jeanette?
need my toenail back.
That's
So more
entertaining.
importantly, the parents are just saying they thank us regularly for keeping this going, as I say.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of our guys and girls that we know within our trade have gone by the wayside. They don't want to struggle to keep it going, and sometimes it can be a struggle because obviously the good news is that the local landlords are very kind and they keep on charging us for all our rents. They don't stop the rent just because there's a small thing called a pandemic going on there. But you know we've managed to persevere anyway and keep going.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? It's a strange one because you kind of think that lots of decisions that were, when life was going like a certain way, like rent, like all sorts of stuff, they go, oh no, we've got to put a sort of a hold on that. I'm not expecting all the landlords and stuff to go out of business, but if everyone equally is in a kind of a standoff situation where no one can work, surely there should be a moratorium on payments and on planning. I keep going back to this. Even in our locality, we didn't have elections last year, did we? Because of the pandemic. So they held off elections, but yet the same councillors are making rules and laws that haven't really been voted in. So I don't get it. How can they keep pushing these things through? Why are people subjected to the same rules that were happening before the pandemic? When quite obviously, not only are there hundreds of thousands of people unemployed, the whole structure of society will have to change to be as adaptable. Not everyone's going to have the wherewithal to be able to put stuff online, but to be positive and be adaptable, link into as many community initiatives. That's why this social hub of positivity exists. Even if it doesn't exist physically, it will between all the organisations and individuals. I'm just laughing actually because Ryan has just possibly sold his first painting.
Oh, amazing.
So this is like perfect. So it's not just about the capitalist or the commercial side of it, it's about the spiritual and the community side. So for you guys to, and anyone, any organisations and businesses to have to play by the old rules is crazy. In the same way, because of climate change and all other sort of I say pressures, we need to really rethink about how we do things. What do you think will be the long term? I mean, it's brilliant that you've been able to. What about the beauty thing?
Yeah. So
I'm one of the models. That's why I'm saying.
I don't know why you point at yourself. Like
Yeah, the worst thing I could do.
What about
What about
beauty?
this? Hey, what are you going to do about this? Have you seen the state of this?
We have got masks which will cover you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Metal ones.
Well, so Scion Health and Fitness is one part
Yeah.
of my business, and then myself and my sister were planning on opening up a beauty room because we're qualified in like different beauty treatments. But obviously, we were very lucky in the health and fitness industry in that we could carry on and take everything online.
Yeah.
Hairdressers, beauty salons can't.
Right.
They've literally just been left to close, and
Right.
they have no
Right.
way. I mean, some have adapted. Like I know there's a few company or businesses that are doing like stick-on nails and.
Yes.
Sending out things like that, but they can't do the treatment. So that ours went on hold,
Yeah.
but we're in the process. Hopefully, when we
Yeah.
can, we'll reopen it. But
Have you discovered any new things that you, obviously business-wise, you did brilliantly with the martial arts, the fitness things. I mean, Joe Wicks has done a great job on that. That's worked. What other sort of life hacks and life tips that you can think of that can help anyone that might be watching this? And if you're a local counsellor, maybe it will help you because you think, yeah, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I shouldn't be on building roads and new houses that aren't needed. We couldn't look after the young people before the pandemic. Look at the Bridge Centre. Carry on.
Yeah, I think that what we have done is we've done a pivot, if you like to call it that. We completely changed the way we did things. I got to be honest, in the first week I sort of stood around with my mouth agape thinking, wow, how's this going to work? And then...
I'd like to have seen that.
Yeah, I was like, I'll show you. It was like, how's this going to work? So...
Was he like that for a while? Did you have to sort of avoid him in the...
I got lockjaw.
Yeah.
So the point is, I thought, wow, this is great. This is great. So straight away, we chit-chatted, and I had a discussion with people from other parts of the
From
world.
inside your mind.
Australia. I speak to guys from Australia, which is great. And I didn't realise you could use the phone. I didn't know it. So that's why I got lockjaw. So the fact of the matter is, we knew that we had to pivot, and I think that's what people had to do. Not just us, everybody had to adapt one way or another. Unfortunately, as I've said, some people fell by the wayside, which is it's just distressing, because some of these guys have been training for many, many years, and they were phenomenal at what they do. If you like the upside, if you can call it that, and we do need to look on the bright side, the upside is the fact that we went online, which is great. And the idea behind that now is we're going to keep that going. So even when we come back to live or person-to-person training, we're still going to do the online as well, because there are going to be people who are a bit nervous about doing it. We've already got, as an example, I got guys that train with us from Paynton online, which is really cool.
We got lots of Paytons around here. Maybe they could come and do a job for us.
You misunderstood what I was saying.
Sorry.
Wow.
I don't understand what the man person is.
So yeah, Paynton. We've got guys that are from Warminster. No, it's not Brick Lane. Brick Lane. Where's that? So, and I'm prepared to teach celebrities online if they want to.
Oh my goodness!
The likes of Joe Wicks, my nephew Connor.
Back in the day, Don, for his sins, used to come down to London when I lived in London, and he used to be Damon Albarn, the wonderful Damon Albarn's instructor, which just in the London context was obviously great crack. So he'd come and I get to see Don every week. But then we bring Damon back to Chippenham to do his gradings, and it was just fantastic. Well, all the guys that hung out with him back in the day can testify. But yeah, you have actually done. Top to top of the pops is look online. There's lots of footage.
Let me tell you the story about that one, because we went down with. Eddie said to me, why don't you come down to the Soccer Sixes, myself and my other brother Tommy, because there's millions of us. And here's a little snippet into it. So we're in there, and the funny old thing, Oasis were there, as well as Blur, as we'll call ourselves.
No, not the first one.
No, not the first one, big one. But it was Jamiroquai, that was it, I'll tell you what happened. Yes. So we're in there, and we're playing, and we did really well in this Soccer Sixes, myself, Eddie, Tommy.
Scored the first goal of all time.
And who's your other guy? Shandy, who else?
Shandy in Australia. Well, Shandy, if you're watching
who's
the family?
The producer?
Steve Street.
Steve Street,
for Cranberries, but mainly Blur, obviously.
Exactly.
And
so
Smiths.
We're in there, and we're doing this. We were just playing football. There was
just playing football.
Literally,
I was limping because I had this childhood injury.
That's his excuse for being rubbish football.
So the first goal.
I think I scored as well, Edward. And if I'm not mistaken, mine's on YouTube. Just so we're clear, look for that, kids. My goal's on YouTube. And Damon takes credit for it by jumping in the air. That's all that goes in the paper. Yeah. Damon celebrates his teammates' score. That was great.
Little man in pyjamas kicking people.
So we're doing that. I'm walking. I went back to catch something. I think it was a pair of boots and a pair of Predators, whatever it was for Damon. And I'm walking back, and there's a gentleman. I really didn't know who he was. And there's a gentleman called JJ from Jamiroquai. He's walking with me. He says,
"Did he just storm the Capitol building?"
He could have done, actually. It was him. It was him. But he's walking. He didn't have the horns. So he's walking back with me. He says, "Oh, you're with Blur, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah. We're playing one today, so to speak." And he says, "Oh, you're the Ringers." Us, not myself and my brothers.
Yes, we're disguised
Ringers.
out of condition. Me and Tommy. Have a look at these photographs. We're Ringers. That's
so
right.
I put him straight on that we were not Ringers. We were just enjoying life, and we had a good crack. It was good. So that was one of it. Then we went on later on. Was it Mile End, the second one? I can't remember which one was.
The first one was as well. Second one, we went to do a few at Stamford Bridge.
No, I didn't do that one. I wasn't invited.
No, it wasn't that. It was just because I still had trauma.
Exactly. So the thing is, we went and basically I ended up looking after Damon, so to speak, watching his back. The second one was with Oasis, and they're a great band. They really are good at what they do. And they had young Liam when he was trying to get into the papers a lot.
Look at the photographs of Liam and Damon. Now, I have to put it up because you'll see my fat head in the background.
Yeah,
but that's all I am, a background man.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, it was true that Don was security for Damon Albarn for quite a while there. And obviously he was our tour manager when we went to
Did you tell them about that when we went down and we went and did a tour over in France? It was great.
What about, this is going to come out in a book called Sex, Drugs and Sustainable Development. But it is true that when we went to support Blur at the Paradiso in Amsterdam, we got the ferry, the band and all the gear and beautiful Richard,
yeah, good old Richard.
We got onto the ferry, and because we were quite used as children going to Ireland by the ferry, we'd always try and get bench seats. Nanny used to get us to get bench seats and what have you. And so we said, oh no, look, we'll go. We looked at the map of the thing when we got onto the ferry. We said, right, let's get down to the cabaret. So we'll have entertainment, and then it said, well, 8 hour, 10 hour, whatever it was, a trip. We'll go down and we'll get benches and we'll have whatever.
Yeah, kip down if we need to.
We got down there. The place was empty. We'd rushed to get down to the cabaret. We went, let's go across and sit in the corner of there. And as we went to approach it, the columns that were in this casino sort of cabaret place had mirrors on there. And as we went to run, I thought someone else was running. And they were just standing back. They couldn't see anyone else in there, but I was sure. I thought I could see a crowd of people running towards it. The more I ran, of course, the more my reflection told me that I was looking at myself.
Quick, lads!
Quick! Let's get it! Really cool rock and roll. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I probably do what I do now.
What was Alan's sort of response to that? Was it Alan?
Yeah.
He was sort of...
Yes, he did.
What does he do?
He didn't know what was going on.
English
Accent. Great drummer. Beautiful Toulouse French sausage. Anyway, right, we can talk obviously lots more about lots of things. Any little life hacks you're going to give our good people in our community and anyone else that might be watching from around the world?
One thing I started doing last year, because like we said, it was a struggle trying to keep the business going. We feel like it's not going to go. I started doing a gratitude journal. Which is really good. So every day you spend 5 minutes writing down like 3 positive things from your day. And I found it completely changed my mindset and I wasn't feeling so like about everything. Gratitude.
How many times do you say, on average, does Uncle Ed come up?
I mean...
Tomorrow.
Hey!
I'll be sure to write it down today.
Thanks, Ed. So another thing, the thing that I have done of recent, of years, many years, is obviously it's looking after yourself. That's really important. The lockdown made sure that people put weight on, including myself, because we weren't training as often as we should, and it gave people a really poor mindset.
More people, just to interject there, the figures have just come out from people that have died just from excess drinking, and they've really increased, and I can.
So this is all as a direct result of this. So what we try and do is we look at a positive mindset. It's so hard all the time. But we are so blessed still to be here, touch wood, thank God, at the minute. So we're blessed to be here. We need to make sure that we're trying to take care of ourselves and our loved ones, obviously. That's really important. And our extended family. You know, like you've got Candu as an extended family, ours is Taekwondo and that. So, you know, we need to look after each other. That's really important. One thing I am doing, and I haven't done it for many years, but it's actually meditation.
Fogging people up.
No, I don't do that. I'm a man of peace and love.
Man of peace.
So, peace is there. So it literally is meditation. I'm not joking. I actually genuinely would meditate. I have a specific...
Your mouth.
I told you that was lockjaw.
Okay, sorry. That's not meditation. That's just stupidity.
So,
Stupefaction.
24-minute meditation.
Wow.
And my young lady says to me, "Have you been asleep?" I said, "No, I've actually been meditating." So,
that one.
You need somebody.
8 hours.
It helps.
Why you in bed?
It was overnight. So, Eddie needs to meditate.
Why do you snore when you meditate? I'm really thinking about things. My brain vibrating.
So, Edward needs meditation sometimes.
Medication.
Medication.
Medication. Oh, it's dedication. Sorry.
Meditation.
That's what you need.
So it's about breathing properly, and I know,
Yeah.
certainly people suffer from anxiety and things like that. But if they can take 10 good breaths, there's no word of a lie. Stand there, take 10 good breaths.
Yeah.
Look a bit stupid, but take 10 good breaths. And let your mind calm down a little bit. It can actually get you through that particular moment of anxiety.
Have you got anything online that people could tune in for meditation, relaxation, gratitude, just these life hacks?
So the program that my dad uses is it's a different company that do it, but I'm a coach for them as well.
Yeah.
So you can, and you get access to loads of workouts and stuff that you can do from home. So if you don't want to do classes through Zoom, you can do it this way instead.
Perfect.
And it's got nutrition tips and things.
Brilliant. I was going to say, so basically a holistic approach to keeping well mentally and physically, not just in this time, because like you said about you've changed some of the things, you'll do it. We've done the same thing about our open mic, and it sounds, what's that got to do with anything? We used to do it physically in Revo. Again, we hope, it's amazing, like the Old Road, Lindsay and the guys at the Old Road do a brilliant open mic. Obviously, in normal times, they're fantastic. But we started this thing now, as I say, it's 45 minimum we've done. By the time this goes out, it'll be more. Every week, for 45 weeks. We'll keep that going regardless, because there's people that are sending from all over the world, from Ireland, Croatia, whatever, anyway, and all over the area and up and down the country. So it's going to be a conduit for us and to work with the community anyway. So that even if we had 100 a week, don't know what I'm talking about, 100, what, 100 open mics? Yeah, if I wanted to. Yeah, what, you could do yourself? No, not myself. I could organise them, I'll get people on. Anyway,
he's never been the same since
physical ones.
Backside.
You know, exactly. That's where my brain is. You give me brain damage. The idea that there's a whole world of interaction, communication that can be a positive that's come out of this. Brilliant.
Well, let's think positive, because obviously the positivity is the fact that people, and I've seen you do it with Big Brian, God bless him, he's a wonderful guy, and you guys here, I've watched this and I think it's really cool what you're doing. All of this lovely art, some really great artists and music and everything else there. That's positivity.
Oh no, absolutely.
And don't forget, we've done our sentence almost. This year's sentence that we're supposed to do. I didn't realise we were supposed to, but apparently, we've done it. We've done it.
I mean, that's the problem, isn't it?
We're coming out the other side of it. So there's where it's positive. And I don't know.
Couldn't even vaccinate less than Captain Tom. He raised over 30 million for the NHS, and he died of COVID. It's celebrated. Well, what's it saying? Why did they say COVID? I mean, it's saying bless him that a country. Or people who are so in charge. I don't want to sort of recriminations, but I noticed that we kind of need to learn from our lessons. You cannot have people who haven't got any empathy in charge of anything, not even their own shoes.
No.
But you're right, positivity.
I think the positivity is an important thing, because people have had enough negativity.
Yeah.
We've had about nearly a year exactly almost of this bull, and I'm not going to swear, but bull.
We wouldn't have had to if it had been organised properly in the first
totally,
place.
we know that. So the fact of the matter is, what's
just
happening
need to say that, people. I don't want to keep going about
I agree.
If we forget it,
I agree.
Again.
Fight, come on, fight.
How many lockdowns do you think there'll be? Do you think this is the last lockdown?
I'm going to say that it's going to be the last full lockdown before Christmas. Did you see that joke on the thing? Only 3 lockdowns till Christmas.
Wow. But
so sad.
Yeah, I don't agree. Negativity, of course, positivity.
So
of course, this is why this exists.
We'll start easing out of this. I hope, and let's face it, we have to at some stage. And the more important thing is that the vaccines, the people that didn't get it. So the fact of the matter is, if people can get these vaccines in their arms, I personally am going to do it. I don't know if everybody believes in it. I am going to do it because I think it's important, and I'm going to make sure I get my jabs when I'm allowed. And I'm looking forward to some great times ahead, guys. I hope you are as well, because let's face it, this is where we are. We're here
doing some young
gigs.
We've got loads of stuff planned, but life, as John Lennon would say, is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. The positivity and adaptability is vital. So you can have all these plans, but if something gets in the way of them, like a pandemic or a badly planned government, you can have you can have at least the wherewithal to survive and get through. Because it's not just about surviving, it's not just about the daily trudge, or it's about some of these amazing things. It's not even about travelling, because you can do it in your mind, can't you? So meditation, you've got your home-based education as well, but also all your physical stuff, your exercises, relaxation, dietary stuff you talked about. Anything else?
Look after others, do you know? So I mean, we're pleased to say that over the years we've managed to do various charities, and it is about looking after others. I mean, your gig is specifically that.
Yeah.
You're looking after others, and we're always happy to support wherever we can.
Absolutely,
and that's what other people should be doing as well, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Looking
There's
after
fantastic people involved in the communities, all from all areas, not just around the Chippenham community. Obviously, I'm talking about the world community. Some amazing initiatives. We can all learn from each other. Any final words before I don't bore you or the audience anymore?
I don't think so.
You say you're not going to bore us.
I was lying about that.
I just, very pleased to be here, and I'm glad that the guys and girls are helping us out there. It's very kind of you. Shannon Lee in the background hiding there. But I'm pleased that we're able to do this, and I think that you're doing a great job, even though you're my younger brother. God bless you.
Younger brother, when we were kids, I said to him, I'll get you back one day.
Yeah. How did he look older than me then? What's that about?
That's why you should do that thing. He's actually older than me. That's why you should do what he's talking about. Don't do what I'm talking about. Yeah, what I'm talking about, yeah.
Good times.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to Rebecca. Thank you to Louis. Thank you to Shannon. Thank you to everyone involved, Can Do Arts and right across the community. Any counsellors out there that would like to come on and explain anything about what's going on, anything actually, would be really good. Any counsellors, come in, talk, tell the community what's going on. Yeah? Nice one. Peace and positivity. Bye.
Right, today we're going to cook a minestrone. Minestrone just means mixture of foods. It's been around forever in Italy, as far as I know. It's changed over the years and to include tomatoes, but I might talk about that a bit later, because I guarantee that when Ed comes and talks to me, he'll say something about Leonardo da Vinci, which we shall come to later. This meal, I just calculated that if you buy some celery, carrots, onions, cabbage, a tin of white beans, a tin of tomatoes, a little handful of macaroni, and you've got some store-cupboard things like some oil and some herbs. In total, all those things, a kilo of those things, would cost you £2.78, right? So what represents here is probably about 50p's worth, maybe a pound's worth of food, and we're making a meal for 4 people. Essentially, it'll cost about 30p a serving. So it's real cheap, and also it involves a bit of carbohydrate, a bit of protein in the beans, and you've got your vitamins and your vegetables. And the joy of it being a soup is that everything's in together. So if you boil vegetables and tip the water away, you lose a lot of the vitamins and minerals within them. But if you cook everything all in one pot, you're ready, steady for just a real good all-round meal. If you fancy a bit of vegan cheese or ordinary cheese on top, then you get a little bit of fat included too. Anyway, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to finely chop all the vegetables. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to use all this celery. I'll stop when I think it's enough. So I'm just going to chop it really finely, the celery. All those of you who out there go, I don't like celery, will be pleasantly surprised. You'd be surprised how many people go, I don't like celery. Right, so I'm going to do some celery, and then I'm going to chop up a carrot into tiny bits too. I've washed all these vegetables. I'm going on the prices that come from a well-known large food retailer that is open at the moment in lockdown. You can make a minestrone from any kind of vegetables you want to make them from, really. There's a type of minestrone that's called a minestrone verdura, which means it's all green, so you could do that with cabbages and courgettes and broccoli, any old green thing really, spring onion, bit of celery. You could put red peppers in and other things like that, but the one we're doing today, just on the basis that it's always better to just cook with the food that's in season, saves you a lot of money, it's better for the environment because you haven't got loads of air miles and flying your courgettes and peppers in from Spain or anything else like that. is that you've just got what's available at that time. So I'm just chopping the carrots into, I don't know, 8mm squares. Don't worry about how big they are, but yeah, pretty small. You want to dice them, because what I'm going to do is, you might see some recipes where people go, oh, you've got to chop everything really finely and then do them in this order of when you should fry them and how much you should fry them, etc. However, if you do all the bits the same size, you end up with everything, you can fry them all at the same time, and it doesn't really matter. And anyway, you're going to boil this soup with all the other ingredients. What's interesting about this little mix, if you've already got your 49p packet of celery and your 43p pack of cabbage and your bag of carrots, which I think were 43p a kilo today, so you get a lot of carrots for a kilo. If you've got all those ingredients already and you chop up like this, sorry it's a bit of a difficult onion, but if you chop up ingredients like this and fry them, you've got the base for most dishes that you can create really quickly during the week, for quick meals that will feed lots of people. So if you did this same chopping of the vegetables approach, and then when they're done I'm going to lightly fry them, you could use that as a base for a shepherd's pie, which would be a very similar version of this minestrone but minus the stock and minus the tomatoes. Add a bit of soy mince, add a tin of lentils, and you've got the base for a shepherd's pie. Or you could leave out the stock, leave out the pasta bit and turn it into a bolognese. So in Italian I believe it is called a soffritto that you're making, which I guess means something like softly fried. Anyway, I'm going to put on the cooker, just get a big pan. I really like cooking in pressure cookers. Lots of people are quite scared of pressure cookers. I'm not using one now, but if you ever get a chance to invest in a pressure cooker, you can make really good, lovely meals all in one pot, like a big stew, bolognese soups, all sorts of things really quickly. Right, I put some olive oil in the pan, I put some garlic in the pan. I'm going to put the vegetables in the pan, so carrots, celery and onions, all in the pan, so they're sizzling a little bit. And then hopefully once that gets up to heat, that's going to just fry gently for a few minutes. And when we'll let that fry for a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a little stir. Again, you don't really need to stir things all the time. If you can manage to coat them with enough oil, you can sort of move them around a little bit. I think sometimes you can get into over stirring and then everything falls apart. So just let it fry a bit. Right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 8 tin of tomatoes. You can get, well, the ones that got today are your finely chopped tomatoes in Lisbon, from a well-known supermarket. However, if you buy the basics, they're exactly the same, cost you 28p. So you don't need posh tomatoes particularly. I'm going to rinse out the tin as well, so that you get the last little drips of that. There's a little bit of water in the tin there. I'm then going to add some liquid stock. You could use a vegetable stock cube, or you could use the powdered stuff as well, bouillon stuff as well. I've just got this one which is a liquid stock, and I probably put a tablespoonful in. I'm just sort of shaking it in, but a tablespoon of that would do. I'm going to put a good splurge of tomato puree in, if you feel like splashing out, if you get the sun-dried tomato paste, that's extra nice because it's kind of sweet as well. But it doesn't matter, a bit of tomato puree. And then I'm going to add the cabbage. I'm going to add the cabbage to it in there. Then I'm going to add this much macaroni. What is that? That's probably 2 handfuls of macaroni. Might be too much, I'm thinking at the moment. So I think I might just go with, well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll do 2 handfuls of macaroni. Put that in. And a little teaspoon of, this is herbes de Provence. Now, I like this one better than ordinary general mixed herbs because mixed herbs have got loads of sage in, and quite frankly I don't like sage that much. But I mean, that's a personal taste. You can use mixed herbs, you can use fresh herbs, whatever you got to hand, or no herbs if you don't like them. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to do a spoon of herbs in there as well. I'm going to put, now the stock is usually quite salty, so you don't really need to add a huge amount of salt. So I'm going to do a pinch of salt and some black pepper. I'm going to give this a little stir as well, just to get that going. Give it a little stir, and I'm going to just get some black pepper because it will need it. Oh, I've got any. Can't find any black pepper. I think my black pepper's been vanished. Anyway, black pepper would be nice if we had any. Okay, so I'm just going to add around, I'm going to pour, if you want to come and look at the pan, I've added probably a third of the pan, topped it up with water. So you've got something for the macaroni to absorb as well. Right, I'm going to leave that to cook for probably about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. I'm going to give it another stir just to make sure. If you think it's looking a bit thick and might stick, add a bit more water. And then we're going to just leave that. And that basically will be your minestrone. I'm going to add a little top up there. And I'm going to turn the heat down so it's just on a simmer rather than boiling quite as rapidly as it is. Right, I'm not going to put the beans in yet because if you boil the beans they go all soggy, but you do want them to take up some of the flavours, so I'll probably put them in about 10 minutes time. But right now that's just going to sit and simmer for 15 minutes and we'll come back to it soon.
Well, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Donna Lee. Donna Lee, have you made us something nice for tea?
Hopefully, yes. I mean, it's not minestrone belladonna because that would be poisonous. Don't put belladonna in anything. It just means beautiful donna. Okay, but I don't know whether that's the case. Yeah, we've rapidly made a very cheap minestrone. Very cheap.
Can I
so
just
I think
say?
I just calculated something like, I think I said earlier, something like 30p a portion.
30p a portion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we worked in.
Minestrone, of course, for those of you who are not aficionados, in fact, or just anything. Donna's a particularly good cook. This minestrone is very healthy, wealthy and wise. Interesting thing, Leonardo da Vinci used to have his own recipe for minestrone because it incorporates so many good ingredients that he actually spent a lot of time perfecting a thing. There's a good reason for it. So it's a multi-purpose food dish, nourishment. Interesting. Great thing about cooking, it's like alchemy. I'll keep saying it. Right, so would you say that cooking healthy food helps your mental health?
I think it does. I was going to come back to the Leonardo da Vinci bit because earlier what you missed was I said later on Ed will say something about Leonardo da Vinci. And I was thinking the other night about minestrone.
And I was thinking about Leonardo.
Boring life, you know, I'm not allowed
she
to
thinks
chop
about
vegetables
spaghetti,
up
I
quite
think
a lot.
about geniuses.
And I was thinking, hang on, Leonardo's recipe can't have included tomatoes because tomatoes didn't go to Italy until the 16th century. So there weren't any tomatoes. So Leonardo's recipe was basically, I looked it up as well, was basically pretty much a veg stew. And like I said earlier, any mixture of vegetables can be a minestrone. It doesn't have to be what we just did. We did veg in season. because that's much more economical, much more sustainable, and they're quick to chop and easy to chop, and really cheap.
Sorry, are you trying to say that you're basically more of a genius than Leonardo?
Leonardo didn't use tomatoes, everyone. Okay.
Leonardo, where's your tomato?
Nor did
Come on, you
and
little...
actually, weirdly enough, pasta didn't get to Italy till about the 14th century, and Marco Polo, so maybe 15th century.
That's funny, because I thought someone else invented...
Interesting. So
Chinese
invented noodles, and they went with Marco Polo back to Italy.
Okay.
So noodles went back to Italy.
Okay, so...
although most nations say that they invented noodles.
Yeah, who do you say quite a lot? Who do you say that invented most types of food, in fact?
Well, if we want to get sort of generalised about it, so Chinese say they invented most foods, Italians say they invented most foods, Jewish food quite often gets lauded as making most foods. I have even heard Croatians say that they invented grilling things. So every nation owns the food that they make and but obviously as people have evolved, we've worked out cooking food is better for your brain. There's a lot of research about how you cook food.
Isn't it also because before we developed cooking food, we had massive stomachs and small brains, and because we eventually learned or developed the idea of cooking, that it broke down the food sufficiently enough so that the energy it took to break it down inside was less. Our brains developed, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we can make all sorts of brilliant decisions based on our intelligence.
So it's a fascinating thing, cooking. It's also sort of quite a communal thing. That's why I've got a bit of a thing about doing a one-pot dish that you can chat to people while you're doing. You don't have to look at a recipe. You don't have to think at length. Be brave. It's like the base ingredients for that minestrone are the base ingredients for so many different meals. Just chopping those few vegetables up, and you can use them for so many different things. And if you find yourself going, I haven't got time to cook and I've got to keep an eye on this or that, actually, there's a real joy in cooking, but being with other people. I totally understand if you have a kitchen that means you have to go and be away from anyone else and there's not much room. It is harder in reality, because you kind of can be either a bit lonely or you kind of want to keep an eye on something else. It's not always that easy. But doing something like that, it's fantastic, because you can chop it in, I don't know what we did, 5 minutes? You can chop it in 5 minutes, chuck it in the pot and leave it. And you've got a really wholesome meal all in one pot. Nothing's evaporating, nothing's going away. You're not throwing out a lot of boiling water or anything else like that. It's all in there. So yeah, the stuff is really good for your mental health and your stomach also. If you eat lots of rubbish, this is a kind of interesting thing. You need to keep your stomach healthy and your stomach bacteria. Your stomach is like a real...
It's a massive thing, isn't it? No, it's like your fifth another organ, isn't it?
And if you need to keep the right stomach flora in you, and that affects your mood, that affects your brain use, it affects your digestion, it affects your whole energy levels, all sorts of things. It is maintaining a good microbiome, as they call it. So all the things we sort of think counterintuitively, like we should avoid bacteria. You shouldn't avoid bacteria. There's bacteria in yogurts, there's bacteria in fermenting vegetables like sauerkrauts and all sorts of things. They're all really, really good for your gut. And I don't know if anyone's ever sort of noticed that when you're stressed, you kind of sometimes don't want to eat, or when you're nervous, you get stomachache. And that is a genuine thing, because...
Doesn't sugar break down your immune system as well?
Your body starts to tell you want sugar. So if you eat bad things all the time, if you eat loads of sugar, your body will tell you, hey, you need some sugar.
Yeah.
And it just adjusts so to what your body... if it has a lot of something, it thinks it wants it all the time. Which isn't always such a good message. But things like sugar, it's of zero use to your body. It's like we crave it, but it is of zero use to your body.
Isn't it amazing when you think about all the trauma and all the horror that's associated with the production over the years of sugar? And how that has affected both financially and intellectually and emotionally the whole development of the part of the Western world. So it's actually a really insidious bad thing, isn't it? On all levels, the production of it, really, all those slave traders that got compensated 85
But we are really drawn to it. It's like I was talking to
We're drawn to it. It's a gateway drug to heroin.
I was talking
That's
to
not even a
somebody
joke.
from Zimbabwe
As
a
kids.
while ago, and he was just saying that going and getting honey from trees that have killer bees in, just get the honey, get the sweet stuff. And bears, all sorts of animals crave sweet stuff. Bears crave honey from bees.
Wait a minute, don't bears just look for the bare necessities in life?
Yeah, the prickly paws and things like that, they do. But
Yeah.
actually, it's a weird sort of craving that we get sometimes. But,
It is.
And also things like, I mean, I don't want to have a sort of bee in my bonnet, but it's like
Bees, honey,
sometimes we
bears.
tell ourselves that things can replace loads of sugar, like a smoothie or fruit, bananas or dates or date syrup and all sorts of things, but they are still all sugar, and they are still all lots of sugar. And if you have fruit as a smoothie rather than as the fruit, you don't get the fibre from the pulp, and then you need the pulp for your stomach.
And dairy products aren't good for you either, are they?
And also
Or anything derived from animals, plant-based.
So we
Game
go-
changers, watch it. That's entertainment.
Okay.
What, you don't think that plant-based diet's better than
a plant-based diet? Yeah. The rule is eat food, mostly plants. Don't eat. You don't need to eat loads of animal-based products. You don't need to eat any of those things.
or byproducts, even milk?
Yeah,
isn't good for you.
The game
Something
changers
we've
is a different thing, because it's not necessarily so much about it's more
Nutrition, or
it's
was it?
not as much about nutrition. There's all sorts of sustainability arguments and all sorts of things about why you probably shouldn't eat meat. So 75% of animals on the planet are ones that we make or breed for consumption as food, which is really terrible, because it means the whole biodiversity of the whole systems are really mucked up as a result of that. But to go back to sort of the mental health bit, as you said, yes, of course it makes a difference. And like we were saying in our last podcast, the very interesting thing is that although we know that certain foods are good for us and certain foods are bad for us, and we know that we should have a good meal, or we should have certain things at certain times of day, and we shouldn't consume this, we shouldn't consume that. A lot of the time we don't do those things, and it's always an interesting question why, or we might find excuses why I can't possibly cook a meal. And really, it doesn't take very long. You might be pleasantly surprised that some things come out all right. And being brave, people, I think sometimes we rely too much on recipes written in front of us that go, how much of that shall I add, how much of that shall I add? And we lose our senses of smell, our senses of taste.
You've got
just
COVID,
sort of,
surely.
And yeah, you've got COVID. But just kind of working out what might go together and experimenting is good stuff, and you don't need to be massive.
Trusting your memory as well, your taste memory, because you know what things taste like, don't you? And you know, so you imagine surely that what they might taste is a fusion.
Yeah.
I think I know what you mean. So people being braver, people also. What about self-growing? Even if you've got a flat in herbs in a plant pot, having fresh, any fresh ingredients is a really good thing. Obviously, allotment society, wherever you may be around the world where you're watching this, but we're very fortunate. We've got a great allotment society in and around Chippenham, and with the young people here get benefit of the mental health and physical health of growing food, but also planting, growing it, and learning how to cook. Any top tips?
On that note, what you just said about allotments. So, I mean, one of the things about living on the island that we live on is that in the depths of winter, so ancient Britons used to mainly eat turnips and not a lot else from what I can gather. We didn't have potatoes, we didn't have lots of things. Carrots only sort of got orange and came over with William of Orange in the 1700s. So there's loads of sort of traditional foods that we're quite limited in the winter in the UK as to what's available, and just cultivating different things you can make out of the same ingredients quite interesting. We've got loads of squashes that we grow at the allotment, and they keep forever. They'll keep it right through the season. As soon as we're all back after this lockdown, lots of our young people have come up with whole meals based around one ingredient, from squash soup to a squash cake to pumpkin fritters, you name it. You can use lots of the same ingredient in different ways as well. Any other top tips you said?
Yeah. Snacks. Give me a healthy snack that people, because I know that a lot of people, sometimes the idea of going to so much trouble, although it's good for your health, it's good for your mental health, to look after yourself so that you prepare and you go to the necessarily amount of trouble to make a nice wholesome meal. What about a snack, a healthy snack? What would you call a healthy snack?
Yeah, I'm a difficult one on the old snackers because I'm not a big snacker.
I know what you're thinking.
I will,
but he is.
I will say that sometimes we have this thing, and you know, I could maybe sort of give a bit of evidence and research about it if anyone was interested. But there's a lot of evidence to sort of show that it's better to eat when you're hungry than go, I must have breakfast, I must have lunch, I must have dinner, I must have tea, I must have whatever, I must have these set meals a day.
So little and often, that whole idea. Cut
Sometimes,
out the snacks, you say.
Some people will just eat one meal once a day and that's it, and they're absolutely fine on it, and they've trained their bodies to work like that. Other people get really obsessed with, I have to fast, I only do this, I only do that. If it becomes an obsession, then it's not very healthy. If you're thinking all the time about what you should or shouldn't eat and when you should and shouldn't have it, and it becomes a sort of mantra and that's all you're thinking about, it's no more healthy than doing some of the things that you might find aren't that healthy. I suppose snacks, I don't know, a doctor told me recently that eating loads and loads of pumpkin seeds is really good for you, full of magnesium, and they're quite nutty and things like that, and they're really cheap. Flapjacks, if you wanted something a bit carbohydrate and oaty, but then again they're full of sugar, so you know
unless you don't put any sugar in there,
cut down on sugars. Piece of fruit, not a bad idea, but then again you don't want to eat, 5 a day is great, 15 a day is pushing it on your digestive system again, it seems. So
overall we're talking about locally sourced, seasonal, eat when you're hungry, little and often, as opposed to and then also you're talking about trusting your instincts, trusting your taste buds, trusting your smell, and being creative and being brave. So not feeling stressed and not having all those. I mean, some of the cooking shows out there, they should be ashamed of themselves. There's so many people that haven't got 2 pennies to rub together, and they're going into walk-in larders and coming out with stuffed ostrich.
I was talking to a very elderly lady in London ages ago, and she was saying that she watches cookery shows and then she goes out once a week and she thinks, that looks really nice, I'll go out and make that. And she goes up to the shops and she's remembering what they've said or looked at the recipe, and it says half a teaspoon of, I don't know, some rare herb that you wouldn't ever use otherwise. And she goes, buys the whole pot and comes home with it, and then she's got a cupboard of loads and loads of stuff she's only ever going to use for one thing, and spent loads of money on it because she forgets that she's got it. And I've got another friend who I hope is not going to watch, but she's whenever she's cooked me a meal, she will literally buy the recipe, put half a teaspoon of a thing in, and if she hasn't got quite enough of it left, she will genuinely be in a quiet tiz about whether it's going to taste right. So we've lost our instincts on lots of things about food. We read a sell-by date and go, can't eat that, it's past its sell-by date. Yeah. Loads of stuff will keep for months and months and months. Just smell it. Just smell it. If it smells bad, don't eat it, and if it smells alright, eat it. You can't go far wrong.
But obviously don't take our word for that. We can't smell the things that you're smelling, so don't be blaming Donna Lee,
if it's got,
who made your tea and said, she's poisoned thee. Right, well that'll be the end of that. Donna, thank you very much. Thank you to... should
we do the last bit of the soup? We're just going to put the beans in.
The last bit of the beans? Yeah, do that. I'm going.
Alright, okay.
Yeah. Which beans?
Those beans there.
Oh, right, these...
Cannellini beans.
Cannellini beans, everybody. They're going to put them in there, stir them in, job done.
My shopping assistant today bought quite expensive cannellini beans. You can in fact buy them for 38p.
Cool. So locally sourced. But thank you to Rebecca, Louis. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Donna Lee made us something nice for tea. Cheers.